Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Build, Paint, Play. My name's Dave.
And I'm
Hi,
Jake.
everybody. Welcome to another episode of Build, Paint, Play. And that would be me. That would be my computer. Oh, what is your dog doing?
She's she's itchy. Hey, here. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here.
Sorry, everybody. These things happen, I guess. Anyway, we are live. We're back. And Jake, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. It's been an interesting day and a half. My wife got back from a business trip and has COVID, so I've been basically staying down here in my man cave and letting her stay upstairs and have kind of like her free reign to do whatever she wants. She stayed home from work today and she's not feeling great. She made
Sure.
some chicken soup and stuff. And yeah, now I'm here doing this.
Right. Waiting for the COVID shoe to drop.
Yeah, apparently. I hopefully I don't get it. I know like Dave, you and I basically both got exposed at Adepticon, so hopefully that is not something that I need to worry about. But we'll see. I guess
Well, you can certainly get it again. So, just
that's true.
just take
It's
that
been
for your
I'm
review.
outside my window of whatever it is, 45 days where you have supposedly heightened immunity. So
Right. Yep.
hobby wise, some good news. I don't know if you're familiar with these guys.
Oh, Tortuga Bay.
So these guys are super cool.
Aren't
They
they in
do,
Ukraine?
yeah,
Tortuga
they
Bay.
are.
Okay.
So I was pretty excited to order from them because they were in Ukraine.
Yep.
I'm actually working something out. I'm trying to work something out with them through my business to see if we can start stocking their stuff here in the U.S. and help them with like U.S. distribution.
Okay. Cool.
Um, but their stuff's super cool. I needed some conversion bits for stuff that like is extremely hard to come by. I needed those Tyrant Guard siege launcher things.
Oh, okay.
They're
Yep.
they're basically just Cyclone missile launchers, but like there's no way to get them anymore.
Right.
So like they're out of stock on Forge World, and they've been out of stock for a while, and I was like, all right, I'm like, well, I just need like five of them. So I ordered those, and then I needed a like a manipulous like grab hand
Okay.
for my tech priest. So they had one of those too. Their stuff's really cool. They don't have a ton. Like he doesn't have like like a million SKUs.
Okay.
But he's got a lot of like really fun stuff. He also makes, which a lot of people really dig, and there's a picture on here somewhere. Uh the Saturnine Terminators.
All right. Yep. Yep.
If you happen to want to do those guys.
Sure.
Um, but yeah, no, they're really cool. They came today, and he was really quick. I think I ordered this like 10 days ago,
Wow.
so it was pretty good.
That's crazy. Yeah. Getting those out of a country that is currently at war.
Yeah, seriously, like
Whew.
being invaded by that canoe, Putin.
Yep. Indeed. But
How about yourself?
yes.
Any new hobby news?
Any new hobby news? I've been working hard at the uh, budget
Your Galvor back,
budget Galvoback.
budget Galvor
So
back.
I there's still a good chunk of change, but they're coming along.
They look great.
The next step is to do there's very little like leather stuff on them, leather pouches and that kind of thing. So I'm going to do that, and then it'll be the metallics. Then I'll highlight the blacks, and then the purity seals, and
Okay.
then do um, the icons. So a couple of the shoulder pads, I was able to put the Pop Goes the Monkey icon on there,
Nice.
the word bearers icon that I've got on the rest of my Marines. So they're coming along nicely. This guy's probably the furthest along.
Very cool.
But I wanted him have that sort of nice bright face, and he's got a big cleaver claw thing.
That's pretty great.
Yeah.
Um,
So
speaking of word bearers,
yep.
we got the new issue of GTM in it.
Okay.
and it has your word bearers article where you show people how to make
Oh, purity seals or
yeah, purity seals
devotional
like that.
those of moment. Yep.
Yeah. What's up, Chris? How you doing, man? That Imperial Fist you painted up looks great.
Yeah. Yep. Definitely cool.
Yeah, I am
Pretty sweet.
well lit today. We decided to put my overhead lights on, and I was like, as long as I angle the camera down, it's not bad because otherwise it's like looking into the sun. We have like whoever put in this like finished basement, they put in two like drop lamps, and they're unbelievable. Like they're super bright, which is nice, but they're not positioned super great.
Yeah, they're both like 400 watt.
Yeah,
It's pretty crazy. You might need to trim those down.
yeah, maybe a little bit.
But yeah, definitely cool. So yeah, hey Scott, hey Chris, hey Jay. Good to see you guys in the chat. But yeah, so I've been able to get that done. Well, working on those. I finished off a commission for Joey Maguire. No, Scott, I can't show you the models just yet. Hey, Kate. But yes, so excited to have that finished off. And I've been working hard on the art of books. So
Yeah, you
volume
sent me the
4.
fourth one. I got to look through it.
Yep, you do. You got to read it,
I have,
and you
yeah, I
got
have tomorrow off, so
to
tomorrow I'm gonna take a chunk out of it.
cool, excellent. Yeah, I finally sent it through to Jake.
Yeah,
It appears
so
that
I'll be.
when I thought that I'd sent it through to Jake, I hadn't
You did not.
actually. It was terrible.
You're
So
like, why hasn't he gotten that done? And I'm like, why? Because I don't have it.
nah, that could be it. But yeah, so that'll be really cool to have that back. I spoke to Tommy today, Tommy Sewell.
Okay.
We put out an update last week. I think it was like when was it? Yeah, like last Tuesday night, or Wednesday morning, middle of the night. Tommy woke up and his downstairs neighbor, his apartment was on fire. So like he ran down and was like knocked down the door and grabbed the guy and pulled him out, and went and told all the other neighbors nearby that to get out of the building. The fire brigade came and put out the fire pretty quickly, and I guess the insulation between apartments and where he lives is pretty good because it didn't actually burn anything in his apartment, but there was just a lot of like oily smoke.
Okay, that's super sketchy and scary, but
Yeah.
good for him and right on getting the other guy out of there. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, yep. So he was able to do that, but the yeah, so his family came around. Tommy's family came around the next day and helped him like clean up a lot of the stuff. But then shortly after, the fire brigade were basically like, "Oh no, you can't go back in there. There's going to be all sorts of toxins that needs to be cleaned professionally."
Yeah, chemical fumes
and apparently the company that owns the building is like, this hasn't happened before. We don't know how to do this. Who do we talk to? So he's writing the rest of the book from outside of his house, like he's staying with a friend like half an hour away. So pretty soon, over the next week or so, we'll have a lot of conversations about how he's going to be able to sneak back in and grab some models out and do that kind of thing to get the final photos for the books. But
oh man, that's crazy.
it's crazy. It's insane. And I think in the next couple of days, I'll have the URL for the notification page for a tremendous tome of Epic Dungeons up and ready to go.
Yeah, we'll put that up on our page and we'll put that up on Facebook and stuff.
Yep. So yeah, pretty excited about that. We've got lots of cool people who have said, "Yep, we're in." So definitely good.
I'll have to send you some photos in a couple weeks. I just picked up I picked up 3 new commissions. I've been trying to like not take on any more right now because I have just so much crap of my own to paint.
Yep.
And this kid that I've done work for in the past was like, "Hey, I want to get you'll love this.
Yep.
I wanted to get a couple of Malifaux warbands painted up." And I was like, I have to take them. I'm like, Malifaux needs more players. Like, I will happily paint those for you. So,
Yep. Fantastic. Scott says George R.R. Martin used exact same excuses Tommy when he was stalling 5.
He's still doing it. He's still using that excuse.
It's still, yeah. My downstairs neighbor's apartment's on fire. I can't write the rest of the book.
Yeah,
But the cool thing is, like,
the Targaryens are based on his downstairs neighbors.
yeah, no, and the difference between Tommy and George R. R. Martin is that Tommy's written 44,000 words in the last like 5 months,
Yep, that's true.
and George is not. So,
That is true.
but yeah, it'll be fine. It'll be fine, I'm sure. No, that is hilarious that you're going to be painting up some Malifaux. Absolutely
It's
hilarious.
no, it's for the same kid,
Yeah.
but it's 3 warbands.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I was like, hey man, absolutely.
Sure, I'll do that. Nice. That's cool. That's a good thing.
All right, so speaking of paint schemes, all right, so and by the way, I think I'm doing. I don't know any of the factions, but it's like this guy wearing like a robot suit, and then he
Okay.
has these like little robots.
Yep.
And then the second faction is like a big robot, and then 3 little like bat robots.
Okay. They're probably both from the. I think they're probably both from the guild.
Okay.
So the guild are the. There's a lot of the Wild West kind of element, the Victoriana kind of element, that kind of thing.
Okay.
So
And then
I guess
I have no idea what the
Like
third warband
constructs.
is. He's like I'll drop him off. I was like, okay,
Yeah. Cool.
but
No, they're awesome. You will enjoy them.
I'll let you know. I'll let you know if they're awesome.
Oh no, they are. You will enjoy them. But yeah, no, that's cool. That's excellent. One thing I was telling Jake just before the show is that I found a new YouTube channel. Well, new to me YouTube channel today. I hadn't seen it. Yes. Those Malifaux warbands are going into a cabinet and never coming out again. Thanks for that, Scott.
That's why I charge case quality. I don't care what case you put them in.
Nice. But yes, so I found discovered a new for me channel called The Battle Camper. So I'm going to just quickly transition to that so you can see. But it's this guy, he's an English guy, lives in London, and has a van that he's converted, or he bought it converted, that he can sleep in, and he drives to tournaments and drives around the UK, doing all sorts of fun hobby-related things. But it's a little bit of a travel log along the way. So there's a couple of videos in there that I was watching today, which are him going up to Scotland, to the Highlands, to find fantastic Middle Earth, like alternative Middle Earth filming locations, so that he could say, "Hey, Scotland's way better than New Zealand.
Oh my god, that's amazing.
You should come and film Lord of the Rings." And he said he started this, and at one point, at some point, he realized, oh, actually, like Rings of Power, a lot of that's actually been filmed in Scotland.
So good.
So, or has been filmed in Scotland. So definitely cool. But yeah, just a really nice guy, having a good time, enjoying life, heading out on these little road trips. It's definitely cool. So
That is so funny.
go and show him a bit of love. Yeah, lots of fun. I think. What was the other thing I was going to show? Oh yeah. So just quickly, following up on our nostalgia discussions last week in our Leagues of Votan / Squat discussions, in the Facebook group, Jeff Smith has posted up some photos of the Warhammer 40,000 Compendium. Yeah! So the great
Good.
Red Book, which has loads of cool stuff in there. So there's the article on the Legions of Astartes, an article on Terminator squads, chaplains, medics, which would become apothecaries, the Badab War. So there's content in there about the Badab War.
So like Luft Huron, the Mantis Warriors,
Yep.
Astral Claws, all that good stuff.
All that good stuff. Rough Riders, White Shields, Ogrins, just the regular Imperial Guard, regular Imperial Army guys. Dreadnoughts, War Walkers. So this is obviously a lot of Walker stuff going on here, and I think the Compendium is where they started to use the targeting grid for working out.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for the locations. Yep.
Yeah, location of where you would be hit. So there's vehicles, land raiders. I'm trying to read a very small, very small photo on my screen.
So it says predators,
Predators.
bikes, hardware, craters, Imperial robots,
Imperial robots.
heavy metal, Space Marines army list, Imperial Guard army list, Squats army list,
Squats
and
army list.
Harlequins army list.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely fantastic. And what's the last one? Harlequins.
Harlequins army list.
Yeah. Nice. Did you ever have own that Harlequins box set? The
I
original
don't.
one?
The original metal one, I don't think I had that. I think a buddy of mine had it. I don't think I ever owned it.
Yeah, I owned that at one point. I think I had like 15, 16 Harlequins in it, which at the time was enough for like an entire
Yeah,
army.
that was like a big Harlequin list.
Yeah. Yep. It was like 400 points for like a Death Chester or something like that.
Like it was like I'm gonna run the Solitaire. He's 800 points. I'll run a Death Jester. Cool. He's 400.
Yep.
There's your 1200 point army list.
Yep.
I'm gonna take a Spirit. Oh God, what was her name? The
Spirit Seer or the
it was the one with the
just the mask.
yeah. Oh yeah, the mask. So you took that, and then you took like troop members, and the troop members were the cheapest, and they were like 80 points a piece.
They were a lot. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, they were nuts. And you could take a troop leader who had like the Korgorak mask, the big like laughing god mask.
Right. Yep. Oh yeah. James Licour says, "Don't forget the Harlequin Land Raider."
What was that?
Well, at some point, I think it was probably in a White Dwarf, but it might have made it into the compilation. There was they'd painted up a Land Raider, so they'd taken a Land Raider and painted up in Harlequin colors. It had like little banners and streamers and things like that.
I mean, that's amazing. I don't remember that. I'm sure I'll remember it if I see it, but
Well, at the time when there were two GW made vehicles.
right.
Well, actually, no, three. My bad. The Predator as well. The Predator, the Rhino, and the Land Raider. You gotta loot it. It'd be another 8 or 9 years before the Wave Serpent would come along.
Well, didn't the Falcon came out first? I think, right?
Oh, sorry, yeah, the Falcon. Yeah, my bad. 97 for the Falcon. Yeah. But one of the things that I was suggesting to Jake as well, so everybody can let us know in the comments, in the chat, if you think this is a good idea. We're going to find the way to write a program for an Imperial robot, and we'll take some photos, we'll stick them up in the Facebook group, and have a competition for people to create the. We'll just create a program, and then we'll assign prizes. So we might have like the most killy, the shortest number of steps to death.
That's so good.
I think it'd be a lot of fun to mess around with those.
Scott, yes, that was the same edition because this is technically second edition 40K. So it's second edition where they tried to make all the points. The points were supposed to be the same across. It didn't really work out that way, but theoretically, yeah.
Yeah, this is kind of 1.5. This is before the this is like 89, 90.
Right, it's right at the transition.
Just before, as they were starting to work out how they wanted to sell 40K. For sure.
What's up, Keith?
Hey, Keith.
Yeah, so we were talking about other stuff that had random squat stuff in it. So I dug through my collection and I found this. So this is the
nice.
Sort of the reprint. I'm trying to do this like in the small picture. Yeah, so this is the reprint of Index Imperialis. And it's the Apocrypha. So it's basically a bunch of stuff that's in that red book. And then there's a bunch of stuff from like random White Dwarf articles and like short story stuff. But it's stuff from like 87 to like 97.
Right.
And there's just some absolutely spectacular pictures. Like the original Horus Heresy Titans,
Yep.
which look phenomenal. Yeah, it's sick. But there's a whole section on abhumans, and the squats are in here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's amazing.
there you go.
Not only are the squats in there, but there are like the rules for the squats are in
Yeah.
there from
Oh, they're so
Rogue
good.
Trader. And it's like this, it makes no sense because nobody's playing it in there. So it's not like you could take that book and the Rogue Trader book and make a squad army out of it. But yeah,
Oh man, they're so
Fantastic.
good. This is back when the Imperial Guard like had a very specific aesthetic. Like they all had the helmets with the goggles and the chin straps,
yeah.
and then like the squats had the same like helmets and stuff.
Oh yeah, definitely cool.
That's so good.
Yeah. Okay, says I still
Yeah.
have my White Dwarfs. The articles were originally in. How cool is that? Yep. Oh, hang on a second. No, leave it there. Leave it there. I'll switch it up so that you're on the big screen. There you go, big screen.
So good. There's so many cool pictures in this book.
Yeah.
Like that's the original Necromon and Eighth dude, and then there's like Ogrins and stuff. Like there's an awesome. Yeah, there you go. There's the Imperial Guard on the march.
Oh, that is such a fantastic image.
This is a Blanche one, I think.
Yeah.
So
That is super Napoleonic. That's probably like over painted from
Yeah.
Napoleonic.
it's so good. But there's tons of like Blanche drawings and stuff, and there's lots of like epic titans, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of like Jess Goodwin's like sketches. It's super fun.
Yep.
This is back when they were in the no squats phase.
Yeah.
So the only thing that has squats in it is in the abhumans. And Scott was talking about Imperial Beastmen. I love Beastmen.
Yep.
So there's like Imperial Beastmen, Ratlings, Ogrins, Squats, and they're listed in it, but like there's no squats rules. It's just like it's the old school Rogue Trader stat line for them.
Yeah.
And then I have this that I got in my collection, which we were talking about earlier. And in
Yep.
this, it has like the squat land train and stuff in it.
Yeah.
And I was flipping through it trying to find like here you go, the squats rules. And there's like all their base infantry rules and stuff like that.
Yep.
But let me see if I can find the land train, like the land. What do they call it? Is it the
That's
land
called the land train.
Colossus?
No, well, there's the Colossus, the Leviathan, the Colossus, the land train. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Those gyrocopters were awesome.
Oh, so good.
And the mighty blimp. Yeah.
Oh, it's a Zeppelin.
Zeppelin. Yeah. It's definitely cool.
The drawing is so good. Like the drawing is amazing.
Yeah.
But
That is awesome.
oh man,
It's
you
gonna
got squat stuff.
flip us over to an image from Jeff. Another one from Jeff. So that's the front page of the first page of that squat article from the Compendium,
With the ancestor on the trike.
and the living ancestor on the trike. How sweet is that?
Ridiculous.
So cool.
Here, old man, let me put you on my bike.
Yep. Let's drive around really fast. But no, that's definitely cool. I love that Jeff's going to rebase that on a new oval base. Definitely cool. And also the red collar that he's got with that white beard.
Yeah. Oh
That
god.
one Santa Claus look.
It's a little Santa, yeah.
It's
Dude.
nice.
Yeah, the squats were so nuts.
Yeah. They were.
The new Votan models are so cool. Like they are so nice.
Yeah. I'm excited to eventually get back to painting them. I have them up on the first row here.
We got a couple more boxes coming in. Apparently that army did, I mean, unsurprisingly, it did really well.
Yep.
I was talking to my rep the other day, and apparently when we had initially put on our order, like we ordered a ton of them. And when I called a couple of days later, I was like, do you have any left? Expecting him to be like, no. And he's like, oh yeah, we have a ton left. And I was like, really? He's like, yeah. He's like, we already did all of our orders and stuff, but we have some left. And I was like, okay. So then I was like, can I order another case? And he was like, sure. And then I called him back a couple of days later. I was like, can I add another case? And he's like, oh, we're totally sold out. I was like, really? He's like, yeah. He's like, within 24 hours of me talking to you, we sold through everything we had.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, so like we haven't gotten them yet. We already got our initial allocation, but that second case that I ordered is supposed to show up this week. So if there's anybody who's watching this who wants one, contact us at the shop and I'll let you know. I didn't list them on the website yet because I want to make sure that we physically have them, but
Yep. Well, I think in between when we spoke last week and when you placed that order, a lot of people realized that they're actually really tough in the game. They're
there's a lot of like salt about them. Like
yeah.
yes, okay, so James just brought up a point like
Yep.
a lot of the German tournaments have banned leagues of OTAN.
Okay.
And yes, they have. But the German leagues also ban every new army until the FAQ comes out. That's
Okay.
like, so this isn't, this is just getting a lot of attention, and a lot of the Votan haters are bringing that up, like, oh, look at how bad they are. But Germany has done that for every list that has come out going into the tournament season. They have banned every list until the FAQ comes
Okay,
out.
that's interesting.
So that's not really something that's just Leagues of Votan. The big one that's getting them a lot of like attention is the railgun that's on the Hecaton Land Fortress.
Yeah.
So the Hecaton Land Fortress is essentially like you have the book in front of you, Dave, but like points wise, it's essentially a Land Raider
Yeah.
for points wise. So like people are like, oh, you're gonna run like 3 of them. Like if you run 3 of them, that's
your army.
3/5 of your army.
Yeah.
So they're really good. The railgun that they carry is awesome. Its rules are sick. But it was basically designed to go up against like meta comp lists right now. Like if you run the 70 Plague Marine list or the 10 boats and a bunch of Harlequins.
Yep.
Because everything has like their crazy, like the Harlequins have their whatever their shimmer save is, and then they have their like crazy like invul save, and then if you're playing Plague Marines, they're Space Marines with Armor of Contempt, and then they also have their the miasma thing that they can do if you run Motarian, and then they have their disgustingly resilient. So if you shoot the railgun at them, it's AP -4, so they don't get an armor save.
Yep.
And then they don't get an invul save because the rail rifle does not allow invul saves. So you just get your disgustingly resilient, and that's it. Or if you're same with the Harlequins, if you're tangling with the Harlequins,
Yep.
they just get their like whatever that other weird save is that they have.
Yep.
The Defy Death, I think, or something.
Yeah.
But
the disgustingly resilient now is just reduces damage by 1.
right.
So it's
it's not just shrug stuff off.
no, that's what it used to be, but now it's just reduces damage by 1. So when you talk
So
about
I think with Armor of Contempt, I think Armor of Contempt on Space Marines makes it so they have a 6-up save.
yeah.
Because they would normally have a 3.
Yep.
A 3 with AP -4 would be 0, but then they reduce it by 1, so they get a 6. But like the drawback to that is that they're going to be like running Grey Knights. They're going to be outnumbered most of the time, and they have a bunch of like sort of things you can capitalize on. You're only going to be able to run maybe 3 of those things, and then the squad-based one is pretty good. It's nowhere near as good as the one on the vehicle.
Yeah.
And they don't have any template weapons. And the rest of their stuff is kind of short range, and they're super slow. So if you're running like, a bunch of Tyranids, like if you have just like hordes of Gaunts or like hordes of Necron warriors or hordes of Orcs, they're going to have a rough day. Like it's going to be tough sledding for the Votan. They're just not designed to do that. So,
For sure.
but don't get me wrong, they'll be super fun. They look really cool. I think they've got lots of flexibility. Like running like the bikes, the hover bikes helps you because those can like zip around and grab stuff. But you're gonna have to be really smart with that army just because you can't. Everybody's like, oh, it's like Space Marines. I'm like, except they're not good at everything. Like they're very specifically good at like a couple of things, and you can't just be like, oh, I'm just gonna move over here and take this. It's like, well, my army's super slow.
Yeah.
But they're fun. And the minis themselves, building them, they're gorgeous.
Yeah. They are. Very definitely. Cool. So there we go. Should we jump into talking about paint schemes?
Yeah, let's do it. What do we got?
We talked paint schemes about the Votan last week, but
Yeah.
so I think because I wasn't super specific in the post, we had a few people sort of throwing out the things that they were having that had troubles with, I guess.
Sure.
Um, this first one, the first image that I'm going to show here is from Ryan Carnes, and it's not so much that he had trouble with these ones. These are this is his Death Guard using a oh, my mind's gone blank. Kind of the
Oh,
heresy sort of
nice
scheme.
wash.
Pardon?
That's a nice wash. They look good.
Yeah. Yep. So just in his post on the Facebook page about this, he talked about how he went through and painted it, what the steps were. But the big thing here wasn't so much that the scheme was difficult. It was more that the models have got so much going on. So much going on. And it's absolutely true.
The Nurgle guys are so busy. Like, I mean, they're great models. Like, they're so characterful and flavorful. And I'm sure Scott can speak to this too with all the Nurgle stuff he paints. Like, they're great. They're great kits.
Yep.
But like, yeah, boy, are they busy. Like, if you don't paint them the right way, they are just like nauseatingly bright with colors because there's just so many. It's like there's a tentacle and there's a mouth and there's like rust on his armor and there's a thing and he has an extra eye and there's a fly wing and there's slime and there's fire there's a lot. There's a lot.
Definitely. And
these look like he primed them white.
I don't know. I think the main color that it's working from is a bone color.
Okay.
And he's used what did he use over them? He used a particular wash over the white. I think it was like a sepia kind of wash. He used an Agrax wash over the metals and the wrappings and other bits and pieces, the fleshy bits.
Okay.
But one of the things that I was going to say about this is that Ryan's made a good choice here as far as how they would then appear visually on the table. Because you've got so much going on and there's that temptation to each different thing gets a different color. And following it through with, so if you're working from, let's say, some Horus Heresy Death Guard with like the white armor but the green shoulder pads.
Yep.
So Ryan could have gone with green on those shoulder pads, but that would have added another color in there.
Yep.
So it would have added that complexity, added to the potential for confusion. But going with that white shoulder pad, it's got a bit more of a Deathwing kind of look to it.
Yeah.
Particularly on these Terminators. And I think that making decisions where you can reduce the number of sort of extra colors that you need. I always work from a like a 3-color plan. Have a light, a dark, and a mid-tone, or a light, a dark, and a mid-tone, and then split it up, kind of based on some old like interior design adages of like a 70-20-10 kind of split.
Okay.
Between the colors. So your main color is going to be about 65-70%. So just over 2/3 thereabouts, or around 2/3 of your color, overall color. And then 20% for your secondary, and then 10% for your final. So you just got to work out which is going to be which. So which one's going to be the light. In this case, Ryan's used the white, the bone is light color, is the main color. And there's a black in there. And the way that he's treated the metals are very dark. So that works probably for that secondary. And then the tertiary, I think in most of them, particularly on the guy with the flail there, is that the fleshy tentacles. Is that last color, which is the mid-tone.
Yeah, and he's got it on the fly guy's left knee with the spike.
Yep.
He has the tongue hanging out. The big thing with this model that I think he did a really good job with is the It's so hard to keep the colors really subdued like that, like the blue coming out of the flame or the smoke coming out of like the flail
Yep.
and like the tentacles and stuff because again, these models have so much going on and they're so busy. Like by keeping the colors really muted and toned down, it makes them look nurgly.
Yep.
If you really make all those colors pop like a pink tongue and have like blue flames and all that stuff, they start looking kind of zinchy. So you got to
Yep.
make sure you don't like, go too crazy and like oversaturate the colors.
Yep.
But I mean they look great. They're super cool, super clean models. On the table, I'm sure if you have a whole squad of these guys, they look amazing. So
Yeah. Very definitely. I brought some of my Nurgle models along. Obviously, I got the Death Guard, which are the heresy scheme. My guys are loyalists, so they're not very what do you call it? They're not very dirty. They're kind of sort of chipped and busted up and that kind of thing, but they don't have that the tentacle thing going on just yet. But my 40k Death Guard.
yeah,
Uh,
I love your Death Guard scheme. I saw those at Adepticon in the case. They look dynamite.
yeah. So I did that with a went for like a fly, like a bug kind of scheme. But that's Coal Black from Privateer Press, the P3 range. Highlighted up to give it a bit of a sheen to it.
It looks awesome.
And I still have this guy on my desk.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you did some nice like blue gray like buildups.
yep, yeah. So you can see that on the armor at the front, how that works. But
Oh, Scott's saying put your Death Guard on the main screen.
oh yeah, sorry, jeez, I didn't even think of it. I will do that
The
again. Thank
title
you.
poster stamp.
Let's I'll show you that again then. Here we go.
Yeah, he looks awesome.
So for the bulk of the troops, the main color is that the greenish color from the coal black,
Yeah,
and then the brass, the metallics are probably the secondary, and then for a lot of them they've got
yeah, that pink color.
pinkish tinge to it. So on the like the demon engine, that pinkish tinge kind of happens around the joints where the two bits have been melded together.
That's a great scheme.
Which really, so having that sort of bright saturated pink helps pop those other colors. But and then I use that same pink, fleshy pink, for the got a whole bunch of plague bearers and the
Oh, gross! The
Gellerpox.
Gellerpox dudes.
Yeah, the Gellerpox infected. So there's like a continuity across all of my Nurgle, 40k Nurgle stuff. So I can use those in there. The fun part with the plague bearers, of course, is that I painted these up before the new codex came out. When you could take plague bearers with your Death Guard army. And then when the new codex dropped, it's like, oh, there's no plague bearers in here. So now I've got a whole bunch of, I got like 20 plague bearers that I can use for. I'll probably end up using them in my word bearer list.
Emma has a question. She wants to know what's this little mini models in the UK?
Ooh, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. What do you mean, Emma? Are we in the UK? We're not in the UK. There are a lot of miniatures in the UK.
That's true.
But yep.
Most of what we're showing you is printed in the UK.
Sorry, yeah, this is no, my accent is Australian. I'm in Baltimore in the US. So but yes, that is a rustic white wall there. It's a the wall of my basement in my 100-plus-year-old, nearly 110-year-old Baltimore row home. So stacked stone and a lime whitewash. So pretty cool. But there we go. It does look a bit.
Dave did not paint that.
Pardon?
Dave did not paint that.
I did not. No. I'd be worried about painting it. I'm worried about sitting next to it, but I do that every day. But yes. Moving right along, I'm going to show you the next piece from Ryan. Next couple of minis, and this is his his Imperial Fists for Horus Heresy.
Okay. Oh yeah, the dreaded yellow. Everyone fears yellow. I don't really.
Yep. Well, I think
He's good.
one of the
He's
things
in a couple of mine.
yeah, when we were talking about it last week, and you proposed the topic, this one sort of these minis gave me that feel. It's like, okay, well, I can see like 2 or 3 different ways that I would go about painting these.
Yeah, same.
And one of them is because Ryan's doing these Imperial Fists with the predominantly black because they're led by going to be led by Sigismund. So they're precursors to the Black Templars. But particularly for these, I think if you leave the shoulder pads and the helmets off,
Yep.
prime them white, hit them with like the Imperial Fist contrast paint or a yellow speed paint of some sort. You'll be able to do those really quickly. Paint the rest of it black. I'd be doing a lot of dry brushing, I think, just to catch those edges.
Yep.
Little bit of edge highlighting for the highest points. Probably I'd paint the knee pads with a pale grey, highlight it with a white, and then put that however I'd done the helmets. Paint the yellow over that. That's the way I'd go with that, I think. The alternative, of course, is if you have already assembled a whole bunch of them and you've primed them all black, that starting with, I think my favorite method for getting yellows on blacks are, I start with a mix of Scrag Brown from GW and Avalon Sunset. So I'm not sure if you've used that before, Jake.
I mean, if I was trying to put it over black, I'd probably just use Jokero Orange.
Jokero Orange? Okay. Is that
I mean, it's so Jokero Orange is essentially what you're making. Like you're
okay.
because if you mix Scrag Brown with Avalon, it gives you like a kind of a fleshy orangey kind of color.
Yep.
Jokero Orange is just like
It's that same already.
It's a super brown orange. Like it's
Okay,
basically
right.
what it is. So technically, yes, I would do the same thing. I'd paint it that, and then I would do probably Averland over it, and then I would just leave that around the very edges of the trim and in all the recesses, and then I would just paint everything else like the brighter yellow, and then I'd pick up the edges with like was it Eandon yellow is the yellow I really like.
Okay.
It's basically like what I'm wearing. Like it's not a super like canary yellow, and then I would do the very edges with either like Dorn or something just to pick out the edges. But
Right, yeah, for your edge highlights.
yeah.
I think I'd probably end up mixing some ivory or bright ivory from Proacral into into the yellow, whatever yellow I went with.
Believe it or not, like yellow. I mean, we're gonna get to this too because I have my Lysander in here somewhere, which I'm sure James remembers. But I actually think making black look good on power armor is harder than making yellow look good.
Right.
There's so many yellows now, and the contrast paints are amazing. And there's like Casanova yellow shade, and like there's so many ways to make yellow really look good. But like black is really hard to make look quality. If you want like making black look banged up and like dinged up armor, that's easy. But if you want it to look clean, it's really hard to do. My go-to method for black is there's 2 ways. The way that I normally do it is I'll spray it black, and then I will get like the biggest, like broadest makeup brush I can find, and I will paint directionally down, so I never go back up, just down on the model from high noon with like a gray of some kind. A lot of times I like my armor to look cooler in color, so I'll do like Thunderhawk, or I'd use like was it Skavenblight Dinge or something like that. Something that has a little bit of blue to it. And then after that's dry, I'll then hit that with like whatever the next step up is. Like I'll hit it with a slightly lighter gray, and I'll do that just on the top edges.
Yep.
If you do too much, you can always hit it again with Nuln Oil, and it'll
Yep.
really temp down all those tones. But I think that's the easiest way to make black really kind of look alive. It's just it's really hard to do.
Yep. I'm gonna pop a link in the chat to an Instagram page, CM Dante, who is a spectacular painter from the UK. He's been really pushing his painting over the last couple of years. I used to chat back when I had a blog. Always did very cool stuff, but he is working on an entry for Golden Demon, which is happening this coming weekend, this coming Saturday, in Nottingham, and I'm pretty sure he's working on a Black Templar, and the work on his black highlighting is just spectacular. You'll love it.
There's a kid, I can't remember his name. He used to work at the Games Workshop in Connecticut, and then he transferred to the one that's in Hartford.
Yep.
And he did like one of the nicest kill teams. Remember when the first plastic kill team came out, where you had like the Raven Guard jump pack dude and the Salamander Terminator and the White Scar on the bike, like that squad.
The Death Watch Overkill box.
Yeah. He it's Kill Team Cassius, I think. So he painted them, and the way he did the power armor, they look spectacular.
Yep.
I don't know if he used an airbrush or if he just used rattle cans. Like I've done it with rattle cans too. You just do a quick Zenithal dusting with gray, and then you wash the model.
Yep.
But they look dynamite.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean Scott gets it. Like I think it's really hard to make black just not look flat. And like the go-to, like there's kids in my shop who came in the other day, kids painting Iron Hands.
Yep.
And he's like, yeah, so I spray painted them all black, and then I painted their hands metal. And I was like, that's not going to work. And he's like, what do you mean? I was like, they're just going to look like shadows. They're going to be like, there's going to be no detail. They're going to be blobs with silver hands.
Yep.
So I'm like, you gotta dry brush them. I'm like, if you want to line highlight, you can. The GW pro painters, the guys that work in the studio, they love doing line highlighting. Like they'll line highlight all the armor plates and stuff. And I'm like, I just can't do that. It drives me bananas. But plus I think it just looks like you painted stripes on the armor. I think dry brushing always gives you a cooler effect because that's what light would do. It'd be kind of diffuse and it would just kind of touch random spots. But
one thing that you could do, there are two things that you could do. Sorry, Ryan has joined us. Yes, it is perfect time to join, Ryan. We're looking at the second of your photos, so you'll have to go back and hear what we said about your Death Guard.
no, I'm just kidding. They were good. They were really good.
Yeah, we're talking about different ways that you can do black. Jake's not a big fan of painting black armor, but one of the things I was going to suggest is so prime it black, give it a fairly solid dry brush of a mid to dark gray.
Yep.
And then give it a wash of. You could go with a wash of black, or you could go with a wash of a wash with a blue tint to it.
Okay.
But the gray will give you that black sort of with a gray look. Blue would give you that little bit of a bluish tint, because different things have different blacks that you see in the real world will have a variety of different undertones to them. Most of the ones, of course, that I'm looking at now around my house are gray. What is your dog doing now?
Just make yourself a little nest back here.
Right. Fantastic. So, yeah, but you can do it with black. You can do it with with gray, with blue. One of the things, rather than mixing in white or neutral grays, you can go with mixing in like light browns or bone colors, which will soften the highlight. So making it a little bit easier for that transition to be smoother.
You can the coolest thing about it, I think, is you can do a lot with the model just by changing that tone. One of the coolest ones I've seen is somebody did. It was black, and then I think they dry brushed it with. I think it's Incubi Darkness, and then they picked out they picked out the very edges
Yep.
with a really small dry brush. They picked out the edges with oh, it's not Cabalite green. It's the other darker one. It
Oh,
might have it might be
it's
it
like
might be the Summer Raffles.
Cyberite green. Or
Yeah, it might be Cyberite, but they picked out just the edges.
Cyberite,
They look
yeah.
super cool. Like you look at me like, oh, those models are green, and I'm like, they're black. They just picked out the edges with that green. It makes them look completely different.
Yep. Ryan is saying that they prime them black, give them a layer of Abadabadabadon black, then a sloppy dry brush with Dark Reaper, which is a bluish green.
Yep.
In that
Yeah, I
sort
love
of thing.
Dark Reaper's one of my favorites.
Yep. And then a light dry brush with Administratum Grey, so that mid-tone grey on there. But
Yeah, that's another like he talked about his backpacks. Like I gave this kid advice the other day with the new contrast paints. Spray paint them lead belcher, or if you're using army painter, it's like you could use plate mail steel if you want them lighter. You could use gunmetal if you want them darker, and then paint the model with either Black Legion or Black Templar,
right.
and it gives you that really cool effect. And because of the way it's going to run, it's going to give them that natural highlight. Like that's an easy way to do it. I would still probably go back and dry brush them with something. But they do look really great. But yeah, like I don't think yellow is hard anymore. I think there's so many cool ways to do yellow now.
Yep.
One of the best armies I've ever seen. Some guy did what craft world is it's not a Laytok.
Eandon.
It's Eandon, the one that's yellow with blue helmets.
Yep.
So he painted he sprayed all of his guys white, and then he washed all of them with Cassandora yellow.
Yep.
And then like went back and did like line highlighting and stuff, and then painted all the helmets blue. His army looks like $1 million. I was like,
Oh, yeah.
man, that was cool.
Yep. Yeah, you've got to be if you've got an army like that where you've got a lot of texture, you've got the plates are smooth, but you've got that texture along the edges of them, and you've got lots
Yeah.
of them. Then that sort of thing will pick that up really, really neatly. But Ryan, you have to pop back just before you joined, so you could during the stream, so you can see what we said about yellow. Our suggestions for that. But yes, the next one that I'm going to bring up is from Dave Hummel, who is painting. Well, basically posted a Terminator Apothecary for his Shadowhawks chapter, and white being a bit of an issue, and B, taking an army where you have a very strong predominant color scheme across it, and then applying that to outliers, I guess.
Right.
Is the thing there. So for this one, his what do you call it? So on his Terminator Apothecary, he's got it's white armor plates, red shoulder pads to match the red shoulder pads of the Shadowhawks that he has. But then the internal, basically his thighs, the thighs on the model are black, which matches a location for black on his Shadowhawks. And
I think they look really good. And like it's hard to see because like it's not the best resolution photo, but
No.
like the white looks pretty good, and like you can see some color indication around like where the plates meet for his foot.
Sure.
You can see that it looks darker. Again, I don't know if that's just the shadow, but like it looks like he's got some layers. And then the bone color is a nice contrast because that's definitely like a warm like bone white as opposed to like a metallic like flat white. My big thing with white, and like I have so many people ask this, they're always like, oh, how do you do white? And I'm like, it just takes patience. Like you need to do lots of thin layers to get a really nice smooth white. One thick layer is always going to look all globby and gross. It never looks flat. It never sits right. Like we've looked at it before. My big Leviathan Dreadnought that has the Flesh Eaters like badge on it.
Yep.
Painting that and getting that to look right was so difficult. I must have done 7 layers, and like the last layer was like mostly water.
Right.
It was just to smooth everything out so everything would settle and look nice and flat. And it's better now. Like I painted that a couple of years ago, so like that's before they had the new, machined white that's better. But he did the same thing with the bone. Bone is going to work the same way. You can see it just looks a little chalky and clumpy in certain spots. It's just because like if you do multiple thin layers and you're really patient, you got to be careful because the water's going to want to run everywhere. But as long as you can like take your time with it, it's always going to look nice and smooth. To paint white, I was talking to a guy today because he wants to paint what's her name, Shadow Sun,
Yep.
with her all white Tau armor. And I think, yeah, Jay's right. Like airbrushing white is always easier. But I think that there's a couple really, really simple ways to do white now. My go-to is the new. Anybody who hasn't used it, the new White Scar spray is fantastic. It is. It is really, really good. It goes on super smooth. It goes on smoother than airbrush paint, if I'm being honest. My buddy Mike was in the shop today and we were talking about it, and he was like, I use the White Scar out of the can as opposed to my airbrush. It comes out better.
Yep.
You don't have to do a million coats. It comes out super smooth. But I would just do that, and then you can't just leave it like that. It's just like black. So I'd probably hit the model with like Apothecary, and then I would go back and get Praxetti white, and I would dry brush down, and again just directionally hit it with a dry brush, and then that white's going to look great. If you want it to look dirty, after you do the Apothecary, do what's the new shade? The gray one?
No idea.
Oh, I'm forgetting the name.
Sorry.
There's a new shade. There's a new shade called like something gray. I don't remember what it's called. And it's basically great for Apothecary White has a blue tint to it, so it kind of makes everything looks kind of like bluish sterile. And if you use the gray one, what is it called? I can't think of the name. Yeah, I think John might be ready. I think is it Ghost something? This is gonna drive me nuts. Hang on, I don't want to pull up Games Workshop because then my
While
screen's
you're looking for
gonna
that, I'm gonna jump in and make a couple of suggestions on basically how I work with white, particularly
do
large areas of white. So I'm gonna just switch to
I think it's hardest on like tanks, believe it or not, because there's like nowhere to hide. It's just like big flat panel.
Yep. Hang on a sec. Now that you say that, I'm gonna reach over and grab.
Make sure you're on the big screen.
I am. Yep. I will. I'm. You know, you said that you're super excited about the White Scar
Yeah,
spray because it's like a very nice bright white.
it's so good.
It is that. I'm a big fan of the Corax white because it's not super bright white. So, like I showed this guy earlier. So he was primed black. Then I used Bastion Grey from Privateer Press, which is a kind of like the old Charadon Granite
Yeah,
foundation paint, and sprayed that through my airbrush. Gave him a good coat. Did a little bit of a zenithal kind of thing, not too much, so but just left some of the black in the shadows, like in the depths, and then hit it with a zenithal of Corax white spray. That's what I did for that. That's what I did for.
Jay, you got it. It's Sold Like Gray. That's the one I couldn't remember.
That's what I did for this guy.
Yeah, dude, they look awesome.
So, and then I just come back and actually, can you see it on this guy? Yeah, it shows up a lot better on the legs but then just hit those edge highlights with some actual white. Super quick.
Are you doing line highlights for that, or are you using like that Praxetti, like the dry brush white?
No, line highlights for that. They're just quick. I don't do all of the surfaces, just the ones where the highlights would catch. But
Sure.
use that same approach on my Kratos. So it's not. It looks quite white there, but it's not entirely white. But what I can do now is hit that with a dry brush on the edges with the white.
Yeah.
And because it's not, that base spray isn't pure white, I can still highlight it with that. So I can just keep those stages really nice and simple. So across a whole model where it's predominantly white, I can do that. Or if I had a model where I've got where the whole thing is assembled and I can't take it apart, and there are large chunks of white, kind of like the Leagues of Votan guys, I would still do the white as the spray. That'd be the focal spray, even if the rest of that model was black, because it's easier to paint black quickly and smoothly over white than it is to paint white quickly and smoothly over black.
I think one of the coolest things now is there are so many options in how to paint things. Like I think right now with so many washes and all the new shades and the technical stuff that GW has, and a lot of companies make them now, but like I use theirs a lot. And then the contrast paints. If you know how to zenithal highlight with rattle cans, like you can make anything look like $1 million. Like there's a girl online, I can't remember her name, and I feel really bad about it. A buddy of mine sent me the video a couple of months ago, and she did an entire orc army with 3 rattle cans and a pot of shade, and they look phenomenal.
Right.
She sprayed them all black, and then did a 45-degree zenithal with gray, and then did a high noon dusting with white.
Right.
And then washed the whole model with green, and they all look like the Incredible Hulk. Like the tones are amazing, and like the way it sits on them is awesome. And then she went back and painted all the metals and painted checks on them and painted their teeth and their eyes, and it looks like she spent weeks painting that green.
Yep.
I like it's just I love the zenithal highlight route is such a cool way to do it.
It can definitely be really good. But yeah, that's how I would tackle it. I'm not a big fan of spending of multiple layers. We're gonna when we get to Jake's Lysander later on. We'll get it's on the screen at the moment. We'll talk about it later on though.
Sure.
And talk about those multiple layers. But I think the key thing for us to remember is that while there might be like 3 or 4 or 5 different ways to crack a color scheme, and you've been working with one, don't think that when you switch to another process or another approach that the way you've been doing it will automatically transfer to it. It might.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
It might not. So don't think that like if you're using contrast paints over white, that when you need to do it over some gray or some black or some other color, that it's going to look exactly the same. It won't. It'll look different. Or if you're doing a single layer of a paint that's got great coverage over black, or 2 layers, that when you apply that over white, that it's going to look the same. It won't.
Right.
So always be mindful that there might be a whole bunch of mental switching that you need to do as you move between them. But
James, you said you like using the white ink out of the airbrush. Is that the Vallejo? What is it? The white ink. I use their gray wash, the Vallejo gray wash a lot, which is great.
no, I think James might be talking about more artist inks,
Okay.
which are like more heavily pigmented, and yeah. Oh, somebody did some work with those recently. I think it was Midwinter Minis. Guy at Midwinter Minis did a whole bunch of painting with some inks, and
Right.
yeah, it's a really interesting kind of thing to see. But the white out of an airbrush, because it's an ink, and the way it's formulated, it just comes out a lot smoother than most acrylic miniature paints will. But yeah, I know a lot of people swear by it. So like I think like Dale Rowney or Winsor and Newton, those kind of things. Yep.
All right, what do we got next? What's the next paint scheme?
Scott, just quickly, Scott says artists think out of the airbrushes the way I use Holbein because it's available here. So yeah, I'm sure there are a bunch of them. Next up on scheme wise, we have one that I don't think it was actually submitted as a scheme thing, but I pulled it out anyway. But we'll come back to that in a second. When you were talking about the using rattle cans, so my Adeptus Mechanicus are done using the Army Painter pure red spray. I think it's pure red, maybe bright red.
Yeah.
But this is done as a like a zenithal spray over black.
Yeah, you can see it because it has that shadow, built-in shadow at the bottom and underneath the turrets and stuff.
Yep. So and down the bottom of the front of that plate.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's,
Zenithal is the way to go.
Yeah. There's nothing that I've done at all to that shading. That's all exactly how it comes after that. And to be honest, I didn't do any highlighting on this either.
It looks great.
But I did that edge chipping with that silver that works as a highlight.
Yep, dude, that looks great.
And the actually, this is an example of painting white over red. And that's hand painted with a brush. So starting with light gray from Vallejo. Where is it? And then probably some cold white or dead white or something like that. Dead white.
Nice.
But all of my vehicles in my Adeptus Mechanicus army are sprayed with that in that same sort of style. And this is mainly because thinking about it from last week when you mentioned it. So I had assembled all of my models and then used that red spray. So they had that same red color on all of the infantry. But what I would have done, because painting the... it's got like you can't even really see it. It's like a cream color on the inside of the cloak.
Okay.
Which is a pain in the butt to get to.
Yeah, we were talking the other day about like weird capes and stuff are such a nightmare. Like I have a buddy who just wanted to buy Cypher.
Right.
And he's impossible to paint if you glue him onto the base.
Right. Yeah.
Because he's on a 32 or 40 mil, and he's doing the whole. He's got one gun out, and then he's drawing for a gun, and he's got like the old school like Western cloak that's like around him, and you're like, how are you supposed to paint this guy? So I told him very specifically, I was like, when you build him, I was like, do not glue him onto the base. He's like, really? I was like, you cannot paint inside. Like, it's impossible.
Yep.
But I mean, he's shaped like a bell.
Yep.
And he almost touches the base, so you can't you can't even paint his legs. Like it's insane.
It's one of those things where you can't get the brush to it.
Yeah,
but you can still see it. You can still see it, even though the brush is a straight line and your vision is a straight line.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, it's insane. I was like, don't glue him down.
Well, my advice for anybody working on Skitarii is don't glue the torso to the legs. Keep them separate.
Oh, right, because the torso's where the cloak is. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, everything. I could break him at the torso, at the hips there, and paint each part separately. That's what you should do. Of course, I'd already assembled like 40 of those guys before I got any closer. But anyway, yeah, that's a really simple way that you can do it. So mess around with that, people. Definitely mess around with that. Multiple angles, the colored sprays. You can do all sorts of stuff. But definitely cool. Just quickly, Ryan says, we had someone here last month or so giving a quote for the siding for their house. Wife brought him down to the basement since there was more room down here. I guess to talk about stuff. Turns out he was a gamer too. He was a noob and asked how I painted so well. I told him lies and trickery. That's how I paint everything. Nice. That's the way to do it.
Yeah, I mean, anybody can paint. Like it's so many people get so scared off from the hobby when they're like, "Oh, I have to paint my models," and I'm like, "Dude, it's easy." Like, if you do 3 colors, you can do any army. Like if you were like, "I want to play Blood Angels," I'd be like, "Cool, spray them Ephesus red, wash the whole model with Agrex Earthshade, paint the bolters with silver. You're good. Like they're table quality. You're good. You're fine."
Anyway,
That's another one. Oh, dude,
I just
Chris's minis look insane.
yeah,
Like these are so good.
just moved to Chris's. So Chris posted these. I'm not sure whether he's just posting them for fun or if this was for the line troops thing or what. But I thought we could talk about these. So Necrons, of course, get a lot of metallics going on. The in there he's got two basic metallics there, like that brass, almost bronzy kind of look, and the silver. And when I was looking at it, it was like, okay, yeah, I think I know how I'd paint this. I'd give them a dry brush of like tinny tin, which is like the old tin bits. So a deep sort of bronze color, then give it a dry brush with a brassy color. So if I use the Vallejo, it would be like brassy brass. And then I'd go back and pick out the everything that was going to be in silver. I'd pick it out in silver. And then I realized that what he might have done, and I'm not sure if Chris is still in the chat, but I don't think he is. No, he said he was going to come back and watch it again. He can let us know in the comments below that you'd spray that with a silver and then hit all those bronzy areas with something like Skeleton Horde or Snakebite Leather or any of those like contrast paints that would give you that sort of brassy finish.
Yeah, that would work. I mean, the other way you could do it is, I would probably spray the models Rune Lord brass,
Okay.
and then and then I would paint the, like, it looks like their forearms and their
The back of the hands, the forearms, the torso, the heads.
No, I'm trying to figure out what's silver. It looks like
Oh,
the only silver it looks like their fingers,
Yep.
their forearms, their elbows, and their shoulders are silver.
Yep.
So I would paint those silver, and then I would hit the whole model with a really hard, like, Agrax Earthshade wash,
Right.
and then
Then highlight that silver back, or
yeah, probably maybe. I don't know. It doesn't really look like it's highlighted. Maybe a little bit.
Yep.
To be fair, your way is probably easier. If you painted them silver and then wash the bodies.
Yep. I think the thing though is that there's a number of different ways that you could do it that don't specifically involve like just painting one area at a time and moving on to the next one. So
yeah. James is right. James said that the heavy metal line highlighting everything intimidates a lot of new players. It absolutely does.
Yeah.
And you do not need to do that.
Yeah. You don't need to do any of that much. For sure.
Yeah, these are great. Like definitely Chris with this. Chris loves like having like nice desaturated colors and then like crazy pops of color.
Yep.
And I would be willing to bet that he spent more time painting the guns than he did the Necrons.
Yep. I think he spent more time painting the crystals on the base.
Yeah, probably. Oh god, yeah, they're all line highlighted.
Yep. But I'm not sure, James, if you've watched any stuff from Ninjon. So if you want to check out some fun. Some videos where he's poking a little bit of fun at the base coat wash line highlight approach of the GW painting. But actually, he has one that he did recently for the Carl of the Leagues of Votan, where he starts off with three. James says really enjoy watching Ninjon. Yeah, there's one where he did three, like a three-angled. Prime, different colors prime through his airbrush. So prime from underneath with purple, and then from like top left with the blue, and then from top right at a like slightly lower angle with a magenta. And then he went through with the colors that he was going to use, but then he worked wherever he was working towards that part. So if he was working towards a shadow, he'd mix in purple into his base color as he was working through that shade. And the result was fantastic. And it doesn't look anything like a GW box art mini, but it just looks awesome. People should definitely check that out for a bit of a shake-up on how they might currently be painting. Yeah, definitely good. I get the feeling that Jake's looking at something else online. He's scrolling.
I'm trying to get a better look at the. I zoomed way in on the Necrons. I'm trying to get a better look at the guns.
Right.
I think honestly, I think the crystals on the bases. I think he spent the most time painting those.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Like the guns are super cool. How I would do the guns is, again, I would paint them just like the Necrons. Then paint the casings black, and then paint 4 white dots
Yep.
in that spot, and then use the one of the washes, one of the like pink or purple washes,
Yep.
to make that look iridescent.
Yep. Volupus pink would probably be pretty good.
Over white, it would look awesome.
Yep. But no, they
But,
definitely
yeah.
look
Those are
super
great.
cool. And I like that he's matched that like the magenta in the guns with the magenta in the
Yeah, the tufts. Yeah, he's got
the
the
tufts.
alien tufts. Those are super cool.
Yep. Ninja Two is emulating Craftworld Studios. It is Craftworld Studios, Scott. But I'm not sure. He probably was. It's also there's a last year around the first release of Cursed City. There was a guy in the Philippines who was doing fantastic underlit. Well, he's basically prime first with he had red underneath, so it looked like everything was red underlit, which looked fantastic. So I'm not suggesting it's a new technique that John's claiming as his own, but it's definitely a cool approach, the multi-angle.
Oh,
But,
speaking of Cursed City, anybody who missed out, I think it's in 2 weeks. There's going to be a new Cursed City expansion,
Oh yeah,
and then they're going to do another print run of Cursed City. The minis in that box are fantastic.
they are cool. Yeah,
So if anybody was like, "Oh man, I missed out," because it's been out of stock for like the last
forever.
2 years or whatever, but
Yeah, well, it's only been 18 months, maybe something like that.
sure.
Yep. Nice. Oh,
What's
there we
next?
go. Okay, so yeah, Scott says that he was for sure emulating Craftworld, referenced it in his video. There we go. Cool. Autocorrect knows my preferred combat system. Ninjutsu. Fantastic. Excellent. And then, so the next one is we're going to see the Lysander and K-Van Shrike nice and big.
Sweet.
Are we ready? Can we
I
handle the
I
awesomeness?
believe so. These are from when I was the manager at the Natick Games Workshop, I believe.
Okay.
So, and I painted these when they came out. So, this is back when GW made black primer and white primer, and we didn't have yellow shades or anything like that. So, my camera did not do these justice, but that Lysander is like 11 or 12 layers of paint. So I primed him black, and then basically left the fist black, and left the lens cowl black, and left the vents on his back black, and then everything else I worked up from like brown to tan to like an ochre color to like an orangey yellow to yellow, and then worked my way up through like 3 or 4 yellows, and painted all the edging and stuff. One of my cheats I will get ready right now is, so where it says Lysander on the shield and fists on his back pole thing,
Yep.
and all the script on his like honor markings and sigils and stuff. That is a Micron pen.
Okay.
They are my favorite. I do so much custom work and kill markings with them. They make a ton of different colors. You can get them in. They come in 1, and they go bigger, but like the smaller you go, they go 1, 0.5, and 0.005. 0.005 is like a fairy's eyelash. It is a teeny tiny little speck. You can barely see it. It is so good. I've like put pupils on guys. Like, it's dynamite.
Yep.
Oh, sorry, Scott. Yeah, it was Skull White and Chaos Black. So, yeah, Lysander was fun, and I did the whole like the half moon lenses on his like targeter, the way that you're supposed to do it. and I painted those with gloss paint so they'd look shiny like lenses. And then Cave and Shrike, I did some line highlighting on his armor. Again, it doesn't really show up in this. There's like 3 or 4 different layers. My favorite was the white. So again, this is a model that was primed black. So I think I painted him. I painted his fists, whatever the old Space Wolf blue was, I forget, and then I hit that with the lighter version.
Yep.
And then I mixed that with white and did it again, and then I went back and did all of the big plates and the tips of his fingers with just solid white, and I had to do like 2 layers of that.
So Shadow Gray, Space Wolf Gray.
Yeah, yep. Shadow Gray, Space Wolf Gray mixed with white.
Yep.
Added more white, and then just white like 2 or 3 times. And then doing I had fun doing his jetpacks. I actually painted them all fire. They're red and they work their way into white. But that was a lot of fun. But that was because we had to have them painted up and put them in the window. So those are literally the old metal ones that came out in 2004, I think. But that was fun.
Yeah, I was thinking about it. They probably came out with the supplements. So there was that Imperial Fist supplement and the Raven Guard supplement. So they might have been in 2005. Yeah.
No, these weren't. There were no supplements. That was just in the.
Yeah, I thought they came out then. Maybe you're right.
No,
okay.
they haven't gotten their own supplements in forever. Like that was for the.
Oh no, that would have been the first time that they had them. Yeah.
I don't think they had supplements. I think the first time they got supplements was in 7th edition.
Possibly. Who knows?
I don't remember.
But anyway.
Yeah, there you go. James knows. 4th edition Lysander. All your Terminators teleport at the same time. that was so gross. His rules were so nasty.
Yeah.
He's so good. And then like Shrike was great too. His rules were absolutely filthy, and with his claws, he was gross.
Yeah.
It was one of those things where they released him. We're like, wait, so neither of these guys is the chapter master? Who's the chapter master? And now it's like, oh yeah, they're like Cave and Shrike is the actual chapter master.
Yep.
My favorite bit with Lysander being a Blood Angels player is like when Lysander comes back from the warp, and they're all like, well, we got to test him and make sure he's not corrupted, and he's like, oh, the universe is all different, and then he's like, oh, except like oh, Dante's still leading the Blood Angels. Yeah, he was doing that when I was around.
Yep. Let's get in touch with him. It's funny. I've been while I've been walking each day, I've been listening to Shattered Legions. So the Horus Heresy book, like the what do you call it? It's not a compilation. Anyway, a bunch of different stories about the Shattered Legion. So about the Iron Hands and the Salamanders and the Raven Guard, and most of the stories are about the Iron Hands, and if there's a story about the Raven Guard, it's a singular Raven Guard who sort of hangs out at the back and tells everybody not to go into the haunted house, but they do it anyway. And it's like, I don't know if I don't think I want to do an Iron Hands army, but I'd love to do a Raven Guard army. And I just got to work out ways to work purples and blues into their armor. I think to give it the Raven kind of shimmer. I think that'd be neat.
Yeah, this is super fun. Back when I built these, I actually built a squad of Shrike's Talons, I think they're called. It's so it was in order. This is before they had all like the Vanguard veteran boxes and all that stuff. So I had to basically buy. I bought a box of Assault Marines, and then I bought a couple boxes of. I think was it the Command Sprue? One of the sprues came with lightning claws.
Right.
So they all have the same 2 lightning claws.
Yep.
But so I posed them in different ways. But like one arm is kind of straight and one arm is bent, but it's the same 2 arms on all of them.
There's a slight range of motion.
I mean, I used some green stuff to like change the angles a little bit, but it's the same 2 arms. But it was fun like throwing that squad together. So I'm like, okay, Shrike's got his buddies and they're gonna murder people.
Yeah.
So Scott wanted to know, he never understood why it's easier to do eyes with a pen than a brush.
Or why it's supposed to be. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't necessarily think it's necessarily easier to do eyes. I think that with the micron pen that's the .05, it is literally tinier than any brush I own. Like the closest I've ever seen is the Army Painter Psycho is a super fine tip. I think with a pen, I know how to do like dots and dashes to do like the scroll work and stuff, and I don't have to keep dipping into my pot to do that. And then I think one of the big things is if you when the barrel of the brush takes the paint, you never know how much when you touch it, you never know how much you're gonna get. Like all of the paint can blob off, a little bit can blob off, then you got to do it again. Whereas if it's a pen, it's consistent. I can do the same thing 50 times and it's going to be identical every single time. That's all. I mean, I've done it with a brush too. It's fine. I just think it's easier. I think I personally have a little more control with a brush, partly because it's a little stiffer. It's part of the reason I personally like man-made brushes or
Synthetic.
I don't know if you yeah synthetic. I prefer synthetic brushes to natural brushes. I just think that I prefer a stiffer brush. I just like that. So I think with the pen, it's just easier.
Okay.
What's up, Josh? Welcome. Thank you. Nice, clean paint work. These are 18 years old, I think.
Yep. Something like that. But yeah, no, they look cool, and I am amazed that you had the patience to paint that yellow over black.
Oh, I swore after doing this, I was like, I am never painting another Imperial Fist. Like that's never happening again.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Now, and like, so a kid was asking me today, he's like, well, how would you paint him now? I was like, now with him being yellow, I would spray him demonic yellow. I would wash the whole model with like Seraphim Sepia. I would dry brush the top, and then ta-da, the armor will look just as good.
Nice.
And that took me 10 seconds.
Yep.
One of my cheats that I do all the time, and I'll tell everybody this, is whatever color the model is going to be, you should spray it that color. Like,
okay.
Like I don't like wasting time. Like if I'm going to paint, Ultramarines, I'm going to spray them Ultramarines blue.
Yep.
Or McCrag blue or whatever, and then I'm going to wash the whole model, I'm going to do the edges, I'm going to do the dry brushing, and then all that. Because the Marines are blue. Like, why would I paint them a different color? It doesn't make any sense to me.
Right.
And there's so many options now. It's like, oh, I want to paint Emperor's Children. Cool. Grab alien purple from Army Painter, spray them alien purple, hit that whole model with a dark wash, pick out the edges. Like, there's the hardest armies to do, I think, are the armies that are real patchworky.
Right.
So like if you were like, I want to paint Howling Griffins, I'm like, okay, well, they're a quartered paint scheme. I would probably spray them yellow, and then I would do the red, because again, like we've talked about, it's easier to paint the darker colors than it is to paint the lighter colors. But
yep.
Yeah, that's my kind of trick. There's even ways to do that now that's really easy. Rick Ankney, who you know, friend of the show, had to paint that Steam Forged Red Dragon from Epic Encounters,
right?
And he needed it for a D&D game, and he called me up and he was like, "Oh man, I keep forgetting. I need this dragon. I got to get it done for like Saturday." And it was like Wednesday or Thursday, and I was like, "Well, it comes in red plastic," and he's like, "Right." And I'm like, "And the gold coins under the dragon they're printed gold," and he's like, "Right." I was like, "Matte varnish the whole model.
Yep.
Once that's done, Agrax Earthshade the whole model." And then if you want dry brush the gold, dry brush the dragon with a couple layers of red, paint his teeth, paint his eyes,
done.
And his claws, and you're done. It'll look like $1 million. And he did it. And he was like, I can't believe how well that worked. I was like, he's a red dragon. Like the bulk of the work is painting him red. Like that's done.
Yep. And using the matte varnish to give it the teeth to grab onto any of the wash that you put on it is always is a great way to go. Yep. Definitely.
Yeah, that's the rules. Paint sticks to primer, primer sticks to plastic.
Yep. Indeed. Josh has faces and bases for the win.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, you gotta do bases.
Yep.
Bases always make a model look so much better. Even if it's like an okay paint scheme, as soon as you base it, you're like, wow, that model looks awesome.
Yep. I got one more model to show from following from the conversation last week where I talked about having the Liber Mechanicum.
Are those Ursus dudes? Or not Ursus?
No, they're the Thalax.
Alex?
But I actually opened it up.
Nice, dude. It's so good.
And now I've got to work out what I'm going to do with them. But I do have I've got 18 Thalax, so I could do 6 squads of 3, or 2 squads of 9.
And is the biggest squad they can be in is 3?
No, the base squad is 3. Biggest is 9. Yep. But when we were talking about Chris Gorka's Necrons before, this is kind of similar, but this is one that I did in that fashion. I dry brushed it with the tinny tin.
Oh, go on the big screen. Make yourself the whole screen.
Oh, I am.
No, you are one of 4.
Well, that's the biggest that we get for these cameras. I haven't gone into. I should do that at some stage, but we'll get there eventually. But yeah, that's the dude there. But
That's
so
awesome.
Dry brushed with the tinny tin, and then dry brushed with silver, actually, and then picked out those brassy areas.
His face. Did you just paint his face black and then hit it with gloss?
Yep.
Nice.
I think that's probably 3 or 4 layers of gloss.
Okay.
But I've seen a fantastic sort of face like this, not on a Thalax, but on something else that was done by a guy called Drew Drescher in Chicago, or I think he's in Chicago, Illinois, where so he painted it black, and then he painted a face. I think it might have been on a night conversion, like an Imperial night conversion that he did, but he painted a face underneath, like on the black, and so that it looked like a 3-dimensional face, and then he just put like 5 or 6 layers of gloss over it, and it just had that faint floating in the darkness kind of look.
That's kind of cool. The only time I ever use gloss is I'll use it sometimes on like helmet lenses.
Yep.
Like eyes stuff if I want it to look like it's wet, like before they had blood for the blood god, or if I'm doing some kind of alien color blood, I'll paint it gloss. And then a buddy of ours was doing Tyranids, and he wanted them to look really like insectoid, and I was like, you should paint all of the carapaces with that. Like even if you just dry brush it on the edges, it'll give them that like wet plasticky chitin look to them. So
yep. I don't know if we can see it in there, but each of those saws has got a little bit of gloss in it.
Nice.
And I also did it between the tentacles.
Oh, right, so they look wet. Yeah. It's a cool effect. Like I remember back when we used to get like oil-based paints. Like I painted my first couple of Space Marines with Tester's paint, and it's oil-based, and they're like candy apple shiny. I'm like, oh god, they're so bad.
Yep.
So to this day I loathe like gloss. I just can't use it.
Yeah. Ryan says, what are you going to do with them? You're going to play a game with them against my fists. I am indeed. Nice. So some of those dudes we saw earlier, I'll probably end up killing with my Thalax.
Praise the Omnissiah.
But it does look pretty cool. Maybe we should talk about the Mechanicum next week.
Yeah, we can do Mechanicum next week. That's for sure. I can actually run them in my army.
Yep.
I can run a Domitar Iron Circle, and then the Iron Warriors have the whatever the closest bond is, so I can run them in my army, and they count as friendly units.
So here's the thing as well, people, everybody in the chat, and people who are watching this afterwards. I need some ideas on the. So the Domitars are out of stock at the moment. The Isle attacks we've never been made, but they're essentially Domitars with jump boosters. I want to see some ideas from people about what I could be using for those.
I would probably, if you can get the Domitars, I would get, whenever they come back in stock, yep. I would get Domitars, and then I would use like Cromlech or Pop Goes the Monkey or something. I would try to get weird looking turbine engines that don't look like anything else.
Yep.
And I'd put them on them.
Yeah.
That's I mean that's probably the easiest way to do
I'd
it.
probably like try to upscale something like that because it's the same kind of
Yeah.
same jump booster. It's given the same name as those. But no, I was thinking possibly stepping outside of that. But because my Usurax,
Oh, the Ursa, yeah, Ursarax, yeah.
Ursarax,
The bear ones with the claws, they're awesome.
yeah. So they're essentially like Thalax with claws
Yeah.
and a bigger jump pack. But instead, I made mine out of Crypt Horrors from the what do you call it? Flesh-eater courts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So they kind of I basically took them as beasts and have made them very sort of mechanicum. They got really wild legs and claws, and actually their face plates. I used the face plates from the Dark Elder Talos,
Okay.
but they're basically the face plates matched the Thalax.
Yeah, yeah.
So they got that
I
black
think
hood.
I think one of the ones I wanted to convert, but they're the wrong size. I was all excited, and then I was like, I can't use them. I really like the Ambot
Okay.
from Necromunda,
Yep.
the Amble mining robot.
Yep.
I love that model, and I've always wanted to use to paint them. And because I run Iron Warriors, I can use the Domitar Iron Circle
Yep.
robots with the shields.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I was going to use the Ambots, and they're great, and they're super chunky, but they're really squat.
Short. Yeah.
Yeah, they don't look anywhere near the right size. And I was like, ah, so I gotta open the kit up to see what the legs look like, because I thought about taking some like extenders from some of the Mechanica stuff and making them taller.
Yeah.
So they're like on ostrich legs. But I gotta see what that sprue looks like, because I don't know what their legs look like.
Yeah. No, I used some of those for what do you call it? Breaches, Cataphren breaches for my Adeptus Mechanicus army.
Yeah, I can
So
see
yeah,
that.
I've got those, and I've got like an over the shoulder. The gun is mounted over the shoulder, and they've got the claws. But,
They're such a cool kit. I thought about
Yeah.
using them as my Warsmith, like
Okay.
just swapping out the head and putting a Marine head in there, so it's like a Terminator suit that's all modified.
Yep.
Because they look crazy. They have like the saw blades all over their arms
They
and
look
stuff.
great. Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, they're super cool. So Scott wants to know, how many mini faces have we looked at over the years? 1 million? It's probably a couple 100,000. I'd be willing to bet. It's probably not 1 million, but
I suspect I've looked at a million.
well, I mean, I meant more like stuff that I have held and tried to paint.
Oh, painted. I know that I've painted. My painting's probably coming close to 13,000 models
Yeah.
now, personally painted. But yeah, I'm sure I've looked at 1 million.
Sure,
faces and
that makes
minis.
sense.
Yeah, I look at all the minis I can. Anybody who wants to put a mini in front of me, I'll look at it
100%.
for sure.
All right, so next week we're going to talk about Mechanicus.
Sure. Yep.
Okay. All right, we'll do Mechanicus stuff, and that could be anything from the new Mechanicus book for Horus Heresy up to, if you want to do the Titan Legions, we can talk about the Titanicus stuff. Yes, we'll do all Mechanicus all day.
Yep. Sounds good.
I've seen a million painted face, and I have judged them all.
Fantastic. Okay, thank you very much, everybody. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe, do all
Tell
the
your
wonderful
friends.
things.
Tell your friends, make Dave famous.
Pardon?
Tell your friends, make Dave famous.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic. I would really
That'd be
appreciate that. Thank you. But yeah, do all the things that help the algorithm. Maybe it won't help me saying the word algorithm. I'm not sure.
Maybe.
But I'll say algorithm one more time just in case. So that would be wonderful. Thank you very much. But yeah, in the description below, we've got a bunch of links. You can go and check out Battle Camper. You can pick up a T-shirt for that supports Kathy Wappel, the Fort Wappel T-shirt there. You can
Those will be shipping out next week.
Oh, really? Nice. Fantastic. Very excited.
We are finishing the print run this week, and they'll be shipped to the guys at Adepticon. They still have some extras. We did print a little bit of a buffer.
Yep.
So you can still get them.
Cool. That's good. As soon as they arrive, I'll be wearing that on the show. Then, yeah, a whole bunch of other things. We've got. We'll make sure we've got some good stuff planned for next week. But thank you everybody for joining us. And.
Okay.
I think it was gonna be. Thanks for joining Jake and I. And
long live hobby.
no, we're not going for long live hobby. I think it was just don't forget whatever you do, build, paint, play.
That's right. Okay, I like that.
It's gonna be done with the.
You gotta give them the double aces.
There we go.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you next week.
And I should prepare for this. I can see I can't do the double aces and do this. So
Well, I can do the double aces. You let me know when you're ready, and I'll do it.
sure thing.
Okay.
We'll work out how we do that.
All right.
Bye everybody.
Bye, guys.